Hi everyone. Can't believe I am recording this because it felt like it was never going to get here. But this is my birth story. I wanted to share it with you because I know there's so many people and my dear close friends who wanted to know the story, and I feel like it's just better to put it on video so that it's easier than trying to explain it a bunch of times. But I definitely wanted to make sure that everybody who wanted to hear it got to hear it because I've been tracking, this journey and my fears and just like what to do, how I was preparing and everything. So I just wanted to document this and get this out there, and hopefully it will be encouraging to you if you're a first-time mom or going to be a first-time mom, um, or just someone considering getting pregnant, or just wanting to know kind of like the whole process or what it can be or whatever. So I want to talk about that. But if you can tell, I'm sitting in a hospital bed because our little Willow Grace is a little jaundiced. But actually, we're going to go home tonight because she's been under the light. I'll show you. Here she is. She's in there. You can't really see her, but she's in there. Um, and so she's been under the light all night, and it's actually her counts have gone down, which is where we want them to go. So that's good news. So we're just hanging out. It was just, she wasn't super jaundiced, but just needed some extra loving. So, um, anyways, and it's funny because I gave birth in the room right next door to this room. So it's kind of nostalgic a little bit to be in here. But um, anyway, so Friday, I'll start with Friday because it was the Friday the 17th. I had a doctor's appointment, and I was 39 weeks on the dot. So my doctor said, hey, since you are already 3 centimeters dilated, you are eligible. I will strip your membranes, which means that she just goes in and kind of, roughs up the cervix a little bit. And it helps, if your body's already preparing to go into labor, it kind of helps push your body all the way there. But if you're not really ready yet, your body's not ready, it really won't do anything. So it's kind of like a 50-50 chance. Um, my doctor in California did that with Hadley, and um, she didn't come for another 5 days or so. So it didn't happen right away. So I didn't know really what to expect with this one, but I knew that I was further along dilated and effaced than I was with Hadley. So I was hoping that it would put me into labor. So she did that, and I had very consistent contractions the rest of the day, but nothing strong enough or hard enough to like go in. And so I kind of just waited it out. And then at nighttime, they really slowed down almost to a complete stop. And I was bummed because I thought, oh, I just really wanted to have this baby today. And so I was a little disappointed, but went to bed anyway, nonetheless. Well, um, I woke up thinking that I wasn't feeling very well about maybe like 1 or 1:30 in that morning or that night. So this is early Saturday morning. So then got up, went to the bathroom, came back, and um, woke up at 2 just randomly. And I looked at my clock just to see what time it was and said 2. Well, then I was like, huh. And I realized that like my pants were all wet and everything. And I thought, oh my gosh, my water broke. Well, I went to the bathroom and it wasn't water, it was actually blood. And so I was really concerned because there was so much of it. And so I called the labor delivery and I said, hey, this is a lot. And do I need to come in? And so they said, yeah, definitely come in. So I was kind of bummed because I wasn't having contractions. I didn't think I was in labor. I was just thinking, okay, maybe something's going on, hoping and praying that nothing was wrong. And so went in, and on the way to the hospital, we crossed some pretty wicked railroad tracks. And I had like one big, huge contraction as we went over like the last railroad track. I was like, oh my word, okay. So then on the way there, by the time we get there and pull up to the emergency drive-through, Colson dropped me off because it was raining. And so was sitting in a chair waiting for him to park and walk up, and I started having, like, I had another contraction that was really strong. And I was like, huh, okay, so that's interesting. But I had been having contractions, like I said earlier, the previous evening, and so I didn't put too much stock into it. And so we're, signing in, and I kept having some more contractions, but not anything crazy. So got into triage. And by then, it was about, I think, 3:30 by the time I was hooked up to all the monitors and stuff like that. Well, then pretty much right when I lay down in triage, like I started having stronger contractions, and they were about every 3 to 4 minutes. And I was like, okay, this is good, but is this productive? And so they came and checked me right away, and I was 4 centimeters dilated. And so they're like, well, we'll give it a little bit of time, see, call the doctor, ask about the bleeding, and see what she thinks. Well, 45 minutes later, I was in a lot more pain, and I was having contractions every 3 minutes apart. And I told Colston, I said, these are not just like these are productive contractions. We're going to have a baby. And I told him that. I said, this is it. And so, sure enough, the doctor or the nurse came back and she checked me, and I was dilated to a 6. And so they're like, okay, you're staying. We're going to get you up to a delivery room. And I just remember they're wheeling me up to the room, and I'm like, oh my gosh, the pain started, the contractions really started. And I had put into practice, all of the breathing techniques and things that I had learned, and trying to just relax my whole body and keep myself really cool, calm, cool, collected. Because if you're watching this video and you haven't tracked any of this journey, my platelets have been too low to get an epidural. It was the same with my first, and this time I was determined to be more prepared because I was not prepared the first time. I didn't know that I couldn't get an epidural till I was 5 centimeters and in labor, and it was a total surprise. So that was a little bit traumatic, and so I really worked very, very hard to prepare for this birth, knowing it would be the same scenario. So I was like, I got to learn the techniques, how to breathe, how to move, to make this quicker and faster and more manageable. And so I worked on that really hard. So I was using a lot of these breathing techniques and things like that as I was being wheeled up to my delivery room, and just really working hard to keep cool, calm, collected, holding onto Colston's hand, breathing through them. And then I got up to the room and I asked for a stability ball, because that was what I had been kind of working on and practicing, like different movements and all that stuff at home. And so I got on the ball and I just sat on the ball and put I rested my arms on the bed. And so I did that, and contractions were just, 2 to 3 minutes apart, kind of, they felt back to back, but I think there was more time probably in between. And I just kept swaying my hips back and forth on the ball and just breathing through. And eventually the contractions got too strong to just breathe through, like to exhale through. So I ended up just vocalizing, through every breathe in, deep breath in, and then just vocalized out. And that really, really seemed to help. And I held Colston's hand every contraction. He was right there. Again, just like he was with Hadley, of course. He's incredible. So I just squeezed his hand as hard as I could and breathed through it and tried to relax my body. And honestly, before I even knew it, my doctor came in. She arrived and she checked me again, and she said, well, you are 8 to 9 centimeters now. Like, this is about to happen. And so, I think I labored just a few more minutes, and then she said, here's the thing, is we can break your water now, and we're pretty much going to start pushing immediately. Or we can, I can just leave it alone, and you can let it break on its own naturally. And then from there, then, it might be another hour or so before you actually are able to start pushing. Well, at this point, I was so ready. I was in so much pain, and I was just so ready to be done and to just get this little thing out. And so I crawled up on the bed. I tried to get on hands and knees, and that was not comfortable at all for me. Some women, that's the most comfortable position for them. For me, it was not. I was like, get me off of my hands and knees. So I laid on my side, my left side actually, on the bed, flat, very, like, completely flat, not sitting up. And so from there, the doctor broke my water, and the contractions, surprisingly, because I know with Hadley they had mentioned, and that when the water's broken, the contractions do tend to get a lot more painful. And with Hadley, I think they did. But I'll tell you what, with the breathing techniques that I had and just trying to remain calm, and I think it's also just the fact that I found a comfortable position to lay in that my body was good with, that really helped to kind of help keep me calm, to where those contractions that happened after my water was broken weren't so unbearable. They were tough, but they were not unbearable. And so then I started pushing, And I didn't have the big urge yet to push, but I wanted to try to start to see if that would at least help kind of relieve some of the pain and also get things going. Because at this point I was dilated to a 10, ready to push, but I wasn't feeling that strong urge yet. But I still kind of started pushing a little bit, and I just held one leg up and bent it, it was up here, and the other leg was pretty much straight. And it was what was most comfortable at the time. And then we just started pushing, and unfortunately, my bladder was full, so we had to catheterize real quick, which was super fun, and get that bladder emptied because I was pushing, but she wasn't able to come all the way down because my bladder was full. And so from there, then they did that, and pretty much right away started pushing. And this all happened. I mean, I went from I got to the room when I was 6 centimeters dilated, and within an hour, 45 minutes to an hour, I was dilated to a 10, and so it was ready to go. So it was really quick once I got up to the room, and I pushed probably for 10 to 15 minutes, and she was born, and it was crazy. And I just remember, because for 9 months, I've been really like anxious about this. I've documented that. I've been anxious about this whole birth process because it was so traumatic with Hadley the first time. And I was determined to make this a better experience because I knew I had no other choice but to do it naturally. And I just wanted to make it a good experience so that I didn't look back and wasn't traumatized for 2 years like I was with Hadley. So, and I can honestly say that this was such a better experience. Yes, it was a lot faster than it was with Hadley. And I wouldn't say that it was less painful or uncomfortable, I should say, but it was so much more manageable because I was able to really try and get my mind in a good place before, and preparing and just trying to keep myself calm and not fighting the contractions like I did with Hadley, but just letting them happen and to really relax my body through them. And that helped so much. And I got that advice from so many of you probably watching this video. You gave me that advice to just keep my body relaxed and calm and breathe and squeeze hands as needed, and that sort of thing. And that really played such a huge role. And so when she was born, I just remember like laying there thinking, I can't believe I just did this. I did this again. Like I did this, but I did it so much better this time because I was prepared. And yes, I was way more vocal at the end of this as I was pushing than I was with Hadley, just because I didn't get any pain meds at all this time. It was just completely natural. So I definitely vocalized as I was pushing a lot more, and that seemed to help a lot. So that made a huge difference too. But overall, my goodness, the recovery has been insane. I recovered great with Hadley too, but this was incredible. The recovery from a natural birth is phenomenal, and you feel good, you're very alert. I don't know any other way, but I just know that I felt very much, 2 hours later, everybody was coming to the hospital to see us, and I was, just talking and walking around and just felt like myself. And I just had this incredible, amazing, super intense birth experience. You just gave birth, and it's literally it's life-changing. It absolutely is life-changing. And I just am so thankful for such a better experience this time around. And I can honestly say that it was such a better experience. And if you're considering having a baby naturally and you're afraid and there's fears, that's totally normal. And you should have those fears. I think it's healthy because it is it's a tough thing, but at the same time, it is amazing when it's over. It's amazing to prove to yourself and show yourself that you're capable of something so amazing. And our bodies really are made to do this, absolutely. And I believe it. And this was more healing, and that's really what I prayed for, was that this experience would be healing, so that I can look back and say, I did it, and I feel like I did it well, and I'm proud of what I was able to do. And I hope that that's something that you'll be able to experience too if you are headed in that direction as a new mom or second time or third time mom and looking to do it naturally. All I have to say is you can do it. Be prepared, prepare yourself, but you absolutely are capable of doing it, and it's something you can be so proud of when you're done. And all births, let me just say that, by the way, all births are something to be proud of, whether it was a C-section, you had an epidural, it doesn't matter how you did it. It's something that you can be very proud of because our bodies are so incredible that we can grow a human, birth a human, and then feed a human, just from everything on our own bodies. God has just, it's such, we're so wonderfully made in this aspect. And so I do want to say that any way you give birth is amazing, and it's such a privilege and honor. But for anybody who's wanting to do it naturally or who has to do it naturally like I did, I just want to encourage you and say that you absolutely can. It's so doable. The recovery is phenomenal, and it is such a wonderful experience to be able to do it and go through it. And so that is Miss Willow Grace's birth story, born on April 18th, 2015 at 6:38 a.m. And that is the call of my daughter. She's crying, so I'm going to go attend to her. But thanks for tuning in and listening, you guys. Just so thankful for all of your prayers and encouragement through this whole thing. And I can honestly say I'm so happy that it went so well and that I had a great experience. So thanks for listening. I'll talk to you guys soon.